First of all, thank you, everyone. We're grateful that you have decided to spend an hour and a half with us today and hope you learn lots. My name's Amelia Yak. I work with Hawksoft User Group, and if you need anything, I'm always here, and just send me an email. I'm sure you all have had plenty of emails from me. We'd like to start by thanking our sponsors who have supported this spring training series. This is the last session of the 6 primary sessions, and then tomorrow we'll have our final wrap up with the owners of Hawksoft. So real quick, I'll just go over our partners who have sponsored this series. Renew King, Insurance Agent App, Donna by Aureus, Levitate, Pathway, Forge 3, Rocket Referrals, Mythos Technology, Lightspeed, ePayments, Agency Revolution, InsureZone, Encova, Suncoast, Ivans, Agave, Blue Jay Reviews, and Podium. So thanks to our partners who support the HUG organization throughout the year. If you have not ever been to the HUG website, I encourage you to do that and specifically set up a username and password so you can get access to the members only content section. There's some great templates and tools in there. Next slide. Facebook page. We have about over 1,700 members of Hawksoft User Group members are also on the HUG Facebook page, and there's a lot of great sharing that goes on there. So if you're not already a member of the HUG Facebook page, I encourage you to join that as well. And lastly, the National Conference is coming up in October. We hope to see you all there. It's an awesome 2 days packed full of sessions like this. And it's October 18th to the 19th at the Town and Country in San Diego, and we hope to see many of you there. And I'm going to turn the time over to Jennifer to cover some housekeeping items before she introduces our speakers. Thanks again, you guys, for being here.
Thanks, Amelia. So just a few items to take care of. We want to make sure that when you have your screens open, that you've clicked on the button that says participants. That'll open up a list of everybody that's attending today. You can see their names. This is where you can use a button, a blue hand button. So it looks like blue raise hand. So if you'd like to ask a question out loud, we'd like you to click on that button, and then you can also unmute yourself. And then once there's a pause with the speakers, we will call on you and allow you to ask your question out loud. The other button that you want to make sure you click on is your chat button. That's where you can see a running conversation between the panelists, or not the panelists, but everybody who's in attendance. And if you have a question that you don't want to ask out loud, but you'd like to get an answer to, you can post it right there in the questions. And Tiffany from Hawksoft is going to be ready to be responding to some of those things. And then we will also pose some of those questions to our speakers. And lastly, we are recording this session, so if for any reason you had to step away and miss something, no worries, because we will be emailing you a link to the recorded webinar within 24 hours. And with that, I'm going to be turning it over. We have our speakers today are Michael Lee and Kelly Endicott, who are both Hawksoft users, and I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, and thank you for being here, you guys.
Thank you. I was waiting to see if Kelly unmuted first. But I guess that was me. So my name is Michael Lee. I'm with Lee Insurance here in Lima, Ohio. Not too far from Kelly, about an hour and a half away. Got to know her over the last couple of years, which has been pretty phenomenal. I've been a Hawksoft user and an agency since 2015. So kind of a wealth of knowledge in that realm of thing. And of course, always trying to grow and learn new things as well. And I think yesterday, as we were preparing for this, I learned a few things too. So that's always interesting. So Kelly.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. Kelly Endicott. I'm out of Columbus, Ohio, close to Michael. Been a user about 10 years now with Hawksoft, done a lot of participating in national and the committee chair for the spring series that you guys are attending right now. So I want to give a big shout out to Amelia and Jennifer for all their endless hard work to make these things run so smoothly. You know, just looking forward to sharing our information on reporting and learn from each other, and hoping you guys will interact with us here and ask as many questions as you want to, and we'll get to them as we can. The plan for today is to cover reporting. What we're going to cover on this agenda is the difference between agency intelligence, advanced, and sales and retention reports. We're going to talk about how to manipulate the data within the report, the layout, and the summaries. We're going to look at examples of different types of reports and how you use those reports within your agencies. So with that, I am going to go ahead and open up the Hawksoft database. And Michael, you can go ahead and get started.
So the first thing that we want to kind of introduce or talk about is really the difference between each of these three kind of reports. So we have that agency intelligence, that sales and retention, and then the advanced reports. And advanced reports was really, I kind of consider it the grandfather of reporting with Hawksoft, because that's where everything originally started. And then Hawksoft a couple years ago made it a little easier on us and pulled the agency intelligence and that sales and retention report. So the bulk of everything always comes from that advanced reports, but we're going to go through some of those down the road here as well. But we really kind of want to talk about what each of those reports kind of do and what you can do in each of those. And that agency intelligence is going to be more of your customer focus, your policy, your premium, company, your snapshot of your agency. And that's what you're going to find really in that agency intelligence report. In that sales and retention report, you're going to see your prospects, if you utilize Hawksoft in that way, your upcoming renewals, and then some of your cross-sell opportunities and everything there. And then, of course, your advanced reports, it's all of that back-end data and everything there inside of Hawksoft. And if you can dream it, you can generally always get it out of that agency or that advanced reports in most cases. There are some reports, and we'll talk about those, of what you can't get out of Hawksoft currently. But let's start with that agency intelligence and what we're going to use that for. So if you've not been to that, you can access it from the reports menu at the top, and then just click on agency intelligence. And again, this is going to be your snapshot for your agency in general. It's going to show you everything that you can't, or that everything you'd really kind of want to know at a quick glance of your agency. So just kind of going down that left side there under your customer KPIs, you're going to see how many customers you actually have in your agency, the policies per customer. And I'll kind of stop here real quick. Is every time you click on any one of those things on the left, of course, everything on the right is going to change, because it's going to pull that report. And a lot of things are going to be that you can manipulate and change in there based on some of those key characteristics right there. So again, that policies per customer, your premium per customer, your customers added in the last 12 months, your customers obviously that you lost in the last 12 months, your net change over the last 12 months, and your customer lifetime. And I'm going to stop right here on your customer lifetime, because a lot of times people like to look at this and they're like, what is that customer lifetime? And right here in our demo database here, it's 2.8 years. I looked at mine this morning, we're at 10.7 years. And so that customer lifetime is it's a projected average length of time that customers will be with your agency. And so there's that formula in the back end that kind of looks at that. And that helps with your customer retention as well. So obviously, if your retention, which is right below here, if that goes higher, your customer lifetime is typically going to be higher as well. So again, those are a lot of key characteristics just looking at that there. You obviously then see your no active auto. So that's going to pull your home policies that do not have an active auto, and then inside the agency, and then vice versa there on your no active home, and then the no active personal umbrella. These are very quick reports that you can click on, and then you can manipulate the data in there as well. We'll kind of go through that here in a second. Then you have your policy KPIs. Your policies in force right there, that's your total policies in force for the agency, your total premium volume for the agency, your premium per policy, so it's taking your average premium per policy there, and then your policies sold, added, and lost in the last 12 months, and then your net change. And when I talk about that last 12 months, this is a rolling 12 months. So we're in May now. So what you're looking at is historical data from May of last year to May of this year. And that's a rolling 12 months there. And I'm just going to preface right here, and we'll probably talk about it here a little bit later as well, is historical data past that 12 months or month to month. So last April to this April, you can't currently pull in Hawksoft. We're going to show you a little trick that we do currently between both Kelly and I down the road, but that we were told that's coming on the horizon, stuff like that. But as of right now, we know some shortcuts and ways that we can kind of get that data, and we'll kind of explain that down the road. real quickly here, and this is a great place to put this as well. So in that center report there that you have highlighted, Kelly, that net change report, if you click on or put your mouse up there next to the word commercial in that report. There you go. So right now it shows as a pointer. If you move over to the number, or actually let's go to one that has a positive number. And of course it's not going to do it for me right now, is it? Actually, no, it's not going to do it on this report. I'm sorry, go to your policies lost. So if you click, yeah, there it goes. So once that hand switches from that cursor, that pointer to a hand, that is a clickable field. And if you click that number there, it's now going to pull up a new report based on what you just clicked on there. And that was that customer that had that lost policy that we lost in that last 12 months there. So that was actually something that I guess in my eyes, I overlooked. And thanks to pointing out to me yesterday on this call, Tiffany, that you could actually do that. So I appreciate that. Some things that we just start to overlook when you utilize Hawksoft quite often. So again, we went through those customer KPIs, those policy KPIs on the left-hand side there, just to kind of familiarize yourself with those areas and what each of those mean. When I log into Hawksoft and when I'm looking at this report, again, this is my snapshot report of my agency. And so this is just giving me that quick glance as to what's going on. I can see that, hey, we're at a net, our net change. Maybe we dropped down a few policies or whatever the case may be. And so then that helps me with my sales team figure that out as to what's going on. I can click through the report, see who we've lost or who we've gained, that sort of thing. And then start looking at some options there. Now, like Kelly's pointing out right now, if you're looking at that policy lost in that 12 months, that's the report we're looking at here. At that top, you can actually now group these by different categories. So right now, the basis off of application type, but you can look at a specific agent or a specific company that has been lost, and say, hey, what's going on here? I specifically use this report a lot of times when I'm talking to my company reps. And right now, they're not coming in the office that much and that sort of thing. So they're talking about their reports that they see. But they're asking me, hey, what are your trends in the agency or what's going on here? And I'll use Safeco for an example. I talked to them most recently, but the last data that they had for me when they talked to me was March. And we talked towards the end of April. So I was able to say, hey, but in April here, we sold X amount of policies. Quickly, I could pull that report. Or, hey, we've lost 3, but we've gained 9, or whatever the case may be, just to kind of say this is where we're projected and where we're going right now and what we see the trend. But all of this is pretty easy to click and find that report pretty quickly and easily there. Here's a quick tidbit on a lot of this information. If you're logging into your reports and you're seeing that, hey, this is not looking right to me, you might need to check your data a little bit because your data is coming from Ivan's downloads as well as things that you have updated inside of Hawksoft. And generally, anything that is inside your customer profile in Hawksoft or that policy is a reportable field. And so a lot of times you have to clean that up. I have to clean mine up routinely. And I know Stephen Harrington's on our call here today, and Stephen does a great job at explaining data cleanup. And I know Hawksoft has held a lot of webinars in the past about that as well. But it's always a battle with cleaning up data. If you don't have your staff and your team trained to put things in correctly, there's going to be titles that you have to constantly update and those sort of things as well. One of the things that if we look at our policy sold report here, Kelly, I like to look at, hey, what's been sold recently, and then at my group by, it'll default right now to the company is where we last looked. But if we look at policy title, you're going to be able to see all of the titles of the policies you've recently sold in the last 12 months. Now you can do this by your policies in force or whatever, a more recent report. Doesn't matter necessarily where you want that report to come from, but you can see all of your policy titles. And if you click the policy title tab at the top, like Kelly just did, you're going to be able to see if all of your titles are matched. Now I can tell you yesterday when I looked at my data, we had 4 different types of auto policies in here for personal auto. We had auto P, we have PERS auto, we have a lot of different things in here. And so you want to make sure that your titles are accurate if you're looking at specific policy titles and reporting. So you know and have a true accurate picture over how many personal auto policies you have. Same thing on commercial, if you have commercial lines, home, mobile home versus you know, manufactured home, those sorts of things. You can always change those and add the, you know, and make sure that you are cleaning that data up. So it gives you that true accurate reflection. That same thing goes if actually we go up by group by up there at the top and change that from policy title. We can look at agent, and we can see if there's any policies that do not have an agent assigned to them. And so you're able to change that and everything as well, or maybe it's an agent or producer that is not with the agency anymore, and you need to move those policies to a different agent or CSR. You're able to do that in this report by clicking and then doing a data replace. But as Kelly just pointed out, you can click on that report that shows that we do not have an agent. And this is all of the policies that don't have an agent. And so we can either click individually, or there is a data replace option to where we can actually do that. I caution you on that if you're not familiar with data replace and you don't necessarily feel comfortable doing that at a mass amount of individual or policies, to call Hawksoft, and they'd be able to help walk you through that as well.
I'll take a quick second here and just show you where this data replace is. As you launch this report, if you're doing something in bulk, you can do your data replace up here, but like we've said, I would definitely call Hawksoft on your first pass at this, just to walk through it with you, because once it's done, it's done. There's no undo, there's no reverse, there's no do-overs or anything like that. It's definitely a one and done data process. You'd have to go back and find all these again and do another one. So when we talk about data cleanup, before you do anything as far as reporting, you really have to start with data cleanup. And I can see in the chat that we listed the 3 sessions that Stephen led in data cleanup. So that would be a good place to start to kind of, you can go out here and gauge where you're at. And the way that we do that in our office is we just look at either premium or policies, and I just walk down this list. And I look at CSRs and I see how many aren't assigned. I look at producers and see how many, and you can just tell by walking through this list how things are getting input into your system. And this is also a really good time to retrain your staff and tell them what you need them to do for the reporting side of things. It looks like we did get a few questions on some policies lost. Is that correct, Tiffany? We might have had some that.
We did. We got a question about, is the policies lost report the same report that you would run if you were looking for a list of canceled policies or canceled pending policies? And it is, but it's a little bit more robust. Policies lost will include customers that are showing as expired. Maybe they just weren't renewed properly in the program. It will show any form of cancel status for you so that you can manage it from there. If you don't mind clicking on that policies lost report and maybe displaying a group of them.
Okay, let me do this and I'll kind of walk through this. I'll show you guys how I use it. When you do this, I'm going to look at let's look at this year alone. And then what I do is I typically go into this, I load the full report, and then I go up here and I summarize by this status detail.
Bingo.
And that will give you a look at how your policies are coded. So at first glance, like Michael said, when you're looking for just a snapshot, you know, you're going to look at this and see policies lost and have a little heart palpitation and think, oh my gosh, the ship is sinking. And it's really not, because you've got 82 expired policies. In our agency, we found these to be life policies, non-downloaded policies that have just not been tended to. So what I do is I go in here and I walk through this list and I verify, are they truly expired? If they're truly expired, I give them a cancellation reason, code, detail. If they need to be renewed, I'll assign them to a CSR to get them renewed on the screen properly, and then rerun this report to ease your stress level a bit.
Now this is a good place to actually spend a few minutes and everything as well. I know we've been talking about it, but when we run this report in our agency, I see the policies that are canceled. They, show canceled insured request, canceled underwriting reasons. It's how we code things and stuff like that. And then of course the expired. And the expired is where I spend a lot of my time, because again, like Kelly pointed out, some of these are maybe policies that don't download. Or commercial lines account or policies that don't download and that sort of thing. So we're constantly making sure that we're cleaning that data that we're making sure that the policy is truly expired or not, and that sort of thing. Now, there is a cancel pending report, and we'll show you how to get to that in just a little bit to kind of see that. But this, again, if you're looking at your policies lost and you're looking at cleanup, this is where I probably spend the majority of my time on cleanup now, as opposed to the policy titles and agents and CSRs and that sort of thing, because I want a true, accurate reflection of if something's been lost or not. The other thing that I always want to caution on is, and it also kind of helps with your customer retention numbers in your the lifetime of a client, is if you are canceling a policy and you're truly doing a rewrite, Hawksoft has the feature of making sure that that status is a replaced rather than a canceled or expired or non-payment. And sometimes we in our agency forget to click that specific button or that specific status. So a lot of times I'm cleaning that up every week, month, and that sort of thing as well. But that is something to make sure that you are constantly making sure of, is that you're using that replaced and rewrite feature, because that's also going to help, again, with that average lifetime of a client and your customer retention as well numbers, so that way you're getting more of a true, accurate reflection there. But again, that's where we kind of spend the majority of our time, are on those policy KPIs. Again, it's just that quick function. Now, I do know in some of the pre-conference survey questions that were asked, one is, how do you get that company data? So if you want to click on the premium there, we're going to change that, just like we do in that group. We're going to change it to company. So if I'm on the phone with Safeco, I can see right there that right now is my annual premium with Safeco, and I have 21 policies with them. And I can drill that down. I can click on the policy number, I can click on the annual premium, and it's going to now open up that report. So again, when I was on the phone with Safeco, last month in April, I was able to take a look at this report, and then I can either summarize it, or I can hit that inception sold date and make sure that yep, there you go. And we could see exactly when that inception or that sold date was, and group those types of things, because then I'm able to say, hey, this is what we sold in the last 2 weeks in Safeco, and that sort of thing. So again, some of these are quick reports that if you're on the phone or you're meeting with that company rep, or you're specifically looking at that company data that you wanted to see, you're able to do that just by clicking on that policies in force in pulling that report and changing that group function there at the top.
Something that we talked about yesterday when we were preparing for this is that for any of you that have to handle a new company appointment or an E&O application for your agency, this is a great place to be. E&O applications can get really tedious as far as percentage and, what type of policy is it, your commercial, personal split. This is a great place to work when you're filling out those E&O applications, and when you're doing a new, new company appointment app, you can grab these numbers literally as quick as just a couple of clicks. Even if you need to take something like, let's say we're doing Safeco, and we know this is our full book. If we want to get a better idea of what's commercial and what's personal, I can simply go in here to this summary and ask it to summarize by application type. And then you can see that I now have my personal, commercial, and agricultural split in premium. So keep that in mind the next time you have some of those apps that are a little bit, used to take a lot of time. With this agency intelligence report, you can get through those really quick.
Absolutely.
Michael, we do have a question I think maybe we should address.
Absolutely.
What's the difference between sold date and inception date, which is a huge question that we hear a lot at Hawksoft. Sold date is the date that the producer or the agent did the work to make the sale. So if I was working with a client, I sold the policy on a Friday before I went home, and I had them sign the app and take the cash on a Friday, but the client's not purchasing their vehicle until that Sunday, and the policy is effective on Sunday. Sold date is the day I did the work. Inception date is the Sunday when the policy itself becomes effective.
Good question.
Do we want to address this actual premium versus annual premium question now, or wait?
We can address it now, absolutely.
Actual premium versus annual premium, is it broken up in Hawksoft? It is. if we can look at maybe the GPI screen. Yep, see here where it says current rate $92,095 versus annual rate, same amount. That's because it's an annual policy, but if the policy were a 6-month policy, the current rate would be half that amount and the annualized amount would be double.
Here's one here.
And so in the reports, you're actually seeing that annual premium, correct?
Well, it depends on what reporting field you included. We will display annualized current premium, quoted premium. So that's, I think Michael's going to hit on that layout option and show you guys how to make that decision for what you want.
Absolutely. So let's look at this report actually that we have pulled up here, that active policy annual premium. And this is the one that we have for, was it for Safeco?
Correct.
So I want to keep making sure that we're calling it the same thing. You can actually change the fields that are listed here in this report. And by doing that, you would click the layout feature. And right here in that center white box is what is actually across the top of these reports here. You can take any of those out that you don't want. You can, because I mean, it defaults to agent 2, agent 3. So you're going to have 3 different agent fields in here. But you can actually remove those or add any and that sort of thing. And the quick way to do that is by clicking, the add edit button. I'm trying to look farther away from my screen here. And it takes you to anything that is manageable that you want to really kind of include in this specific report. So maybe you don't want the customer ID in there. You just want that last name, first name, and maybe the business name, that policy, inception and sold date, whatever the case may be. You can uncheck and check whatever it is that you want on this specific report for you to either print, open up, or whatever the case may be. And so by doing that, you're now going to have that report as soon as she's done clicking.
And here's where you select your premium, current premium, quoted premium, annual current premium, annual quoted premium. You have options for days.
Absolutely. So you can select exactly what it is that you want to see in this report. And then once you're done, you hit OK. It's now going to, and then finish, I believe here. It's now going to readjust everything again for you. And then you have a new report as to what you specifically want in here. Now, the other thing is sometimes you don't want these fields in the spots that they're at. Maybe I want the company dragged over next to the business name. And so Kelly can drag that over, and it's now going to be where she wants it. So these fields, again, you can drag and drop, or not necessarily drop things, but you can drag the fields there to set up the report exactly how you want it. That is one way of doing it. The other way is, again, when you're in that layout feature, you can actually move the fields that way as well. So when it's building your report again, it has the things the way that you want them after you hit finish.
And all I'm doing on these, so you guys know, is I'm just literally clicking, holding, and I'm dragging it up to where I want it in the layout, and then I'm releasing it. And that will put it in that right area. Then I just click finish again, and it will reorganize those for me. The other thing that we talked about yesterday is the ability to click on your headers, and that will sort that data by those headers. So if you want to see status dates in order, if you want to see the company in alphabetical, you can do that. You can do as much as you want on these headers as well.
Can I throw out a tip here on this one?
Mm-hmm.
So if this report's huge, if we were looking for somebody specific on this report, like we wanted to see Edward's item on the report, on the upper left-hand corner, there's a little filter option. We can choose name, customer.
Is it here?
Office. Yeah, you're in the right spot. I think there was an item in there called last or first name. Right there. And then you can type your customer's name, Edward Patton, and it will display just the items that match what your typed criteria is.
So again, yeah, I mean, the reports are what you want to make of it. And I mean, if you dream it, you can really kind of do it inside Hawksoft here. you know, once this report, Agency Intelligence, came out, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what each of these KPIs meant, how things were going to be built into this report, where the data was being pulled from. I'm glad that Hawksoft also did this, you know, a big drive on data cleanup, because again, when you would look in here at your titles and that sort of thing, you wanted to make sure that everything was accurate and clean. Because I know when I first looked at my KPIs, they were all over the place, and I probably had 40 different types of auto policies and that sort of thing. So if that's the drive that you want to figure out a quick snapshot over your agency, this is where to do it at. And again, as Stephen and Tiffany have pointed out in the chat, this is only as good as the data that you put in it. So if you have to make sure that your data is actually clean, to make sure that this report is being ran the way that you expect it to or want it to. I know Kelly uses this a lot in reporting when she's talking with agents or saying, hey, we want to, well, what's going on here? Or and she's taken snapshots or snippets. I use the Snippet Tool. If you have a PC, you're able to use the actual Snippet Tool on the PC, because a lot of these things can't be printed, or it doesn't look as pretty. I mean, it looks pretty right now on our screen, but when you go to print it, it actually doesn't look like this. So as Kelly showed you, you can actually use that Snippet Tool and save that as well. And you can attach this into an email, sending it down the hall to another staff member, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and this is something we use quite often in our agency for our month end. The sales team wants to get numbers collectively and individually, so this is what I utilize for that. And you know, I show them what they've lost, what they've added, and then we also give them a list of you know, no active autos or no active homes to work as well, and I use that a lot for this.
Absolutely. I'm trying to get back to my screen here to make sure that we're getting, so in this report here, I know there was a question about adding that other column to a report without having to go back out and start the whole report over. I think we kind of hit on that, but let's get back into a report here. Obviously, we're on the premium report, and we're looking at the premium by companies here. And like Kelly just said, or Kelly pointed out just a little bit ago, we're going to hit that layout feature. And again, you can either add edit there, and you're going to check that box that you want that's going to be in that field. Hit OK, finish, and now that's going to be there. So it runs that report again and refreshes it, but you don't have to completely exit out of Agency Intelligence or Advanced Reports to do that. Because if, hey, you know, that's not the specific field I wanted, because I've been known to do that a lot as well. You just go back up to layout and change which box it is that you want in that field.
And the other tip that we wanted to cover for you guys today is that as you fine tune these, as you get in, just play around with them, and when you get the ideal report and you're just totally ecstatic with yourself, make sure that you save a layout. So you've already made all your criteria, you've got them in the order that you want. If you go here and save a layout, then you can name it whatever you want to. And then that layout stays there for you to use over and over again. Be specific when you name them, because what you think you might remember when you first name it, you'll go back in there, and as you name more, you'll want to be very specific.
Absolutely.
Hey, Michael, we just had a question. Might be a silly question, but how do we remove those saved reports or layouts? Do you want to cover that now, or you want to wait until you get back to advanced reporting?
We'll cover that in the advanced report.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. The other thing is, I mean, like Kelly's showing there too, you can also have that report title, so you can adjust the title. A lot of times I'll adjust my title specific toward at that bottom field there. If I'm printing this, or if I'm sending it to someone or exporting it, that's going to be my policy title. So I might say, hey, this is for producer Ben, or whatever the case may be as I'm sending that. Because if I'm exporting this or something like that, I want to have that specifically. And that brought up into exporting, didn't it, Kelly, as we go into this? So you can specifically export this report. And I know we're going to talk, again, more about historical reports here in a little bit, but a way to kind of snapshot, if you ran that report and you said, hey, this is our policy sold in the month of April, and you wanted to export this report, the best way to do that is to obviously export, and you're going to export it to save onto your PC because, again, you can't run historical reports in Hawksoft. So by doing so, you're going to go up to that file, you're going to export, and then you're going to tell it where you want it to go. Now, if you're a Hawksoft Online user, or if you're a server in-house user for Hawksoft, this may look a little bit different because you got to kind of tell it where you're going and cross remote desktop boundaries and that sort of thing if you're an online user. But a lot of times you're just going to tell this where you want it to export to, whether that's your desktop or downloads folder or a Hawksoft inbox folder, wherever you want it to go. You're going to name it. And then, of course, you want to probably change the format to this to being a CSV file, because you can then send that into Google Sheets, or you can save it into Excel if you have that on your PC as well. But again, this is where you would go to actually export into those things and export those onto your actual PC. And you can email, whatever the case may be. But again, that's how this is one way of how we've started building our historical reports, is just by exporting that specific report that you're looking for.
All right, I think we've covered everything in agency intelligence. Do we have any other lingering questions on the AI report, Tiffany?
Nope, everything's been answered. We just have one that doesn't really pertain to this one, but we'll get back there.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, we're going to go into sales and retention report. By looking at that, this, again, is the report that we would kind of look at that's going to help with our prospects, our upcoming renewals, and our cross-sell reports as well. Now, you can do the cross-sell reports from, agency intelligence, because it's available there as well. This one is one that I like to run, though, when we're in this system for cross-selling reports. But let's look at our sales pipeline there at the top. Now, those of you guys that know Kenny Hendricks at Hawksoft, Kenny and I, we've talked a lot about this. We utilize this feature a lot when we started with Hawksoft, and then when sales and retention came about. I don't generally use it as often as what I used to, because I have an outside vendor that we do a lot of pipeline management with and everything there. However, you can customize the sales pipeline a little bit to meet your needs. You can, you have that lead category, and you have the prospect refused and rejected, but you can have sub-statuses as well that are going to help. So I know the sub-status there is a price, didn't buy the risk, wanted lesser coverage. Some of those were that wanted lesser coverage. That was actually one that was developed and put in here. So you can change those, add, because I know sometimes it's the no response, that sort of thing. We just didn't hear from the client. But you can actually run those sales pipelines. You can click on those, and you can see exactly who's in that category. So if we click on, let's just look at the prospect, and let's look at, well, they have no sub-statuses. So Stephen Harrington is actually on our call, but producer Stephen Harrington in this case has a prospect in here. And so we can always look at who the prospects are that, that a specific producer or agent has, or whether it's a CSR that you have licensed and stuff like that as well. So you can see, how long they've been lingering out there, or is there an update, what's going on with them, and reach out to that specific producer or CSR and saying, hey, what can I help with? What can I help you get to close this account, and that sort of thing. And again, anytime that you click on a specific name in a report, that's obviously going to take you to that customer profile in there as well. So she's clicking on Dixie Clark here. And then what she will also show you here is, obviously this takes you to Dixie's policy here, and you can get your snapshot as to what's going on, or you can talk to that producer. But there's also that previous and next feature up here, because we're in the report. So if you are like, hey, I want to see what the next person is on this report, you don't have to go back to the report by doing so. You can just hit that next button, and it's actually going to go down to the next person in that specific report. So now we're actually seeing Joanne Johnson. And then we'd go down to Sydney as well when we go down to that next feature as well. So it's a quick way of actually scrolling through that report without having to go back and forth to actually click on the actual report.
What we did, Michael, is Jennifer put, there was a really Jen is on the call also, and there was a really, really good sales pipeline webinar that was done on this. So we put the link in there. It's also in our PowerPoint that will be sent out to you guys. You should really check that out if you're interested in fine-tuning your sales pipeline or even getting started, because they covered a lot of good material on how to get that launched and really get it to work for your agency.
Absolutely. So we don't want to spend too much time on sales and retention, or on that prospect feature, and we're not going to spend a ton of time here on the sales and retention report, specifically because it was covered last week. But there's that sales pipeline. That's where you can see that. Where we spend a lot of our time, and I know where Kelly does as well, is in that renewals in the next 60 days. So you can see your commercial renewals that are coming up, as well as your personal lines renewals. And obviously, by clicking on them again, that center is going to change a little bit. In that personal lines renewals, you can actually then funnel this report however you would like to. So she just ran that report of what's coming up in the next 60 days. You can summarize it. So you can summarize it by agent and give the agent their report. You can summarize it by company. You can summarize it by anything that's really there in that reported field. And that's going to help you out by looking at your projection of those renewal reports.
And here's another good thing that we wanted to make sure we pointed out to you guys. If you'll notice that I have my base report held, and as I'm summarizing these, it's just adding these tabs on. You're not losing anything. You can close this one and you still have this one. You can close this one and you're back to where you started. So when we say if you can dream it, you can probably do it in here. Just start playing around with it and just drill down and drill down. Start broad and work your way down to exactly what you need. But this is another way of doing that, because even if I summarize by agent, and then let's say I want to look at this agent, and this agent says, is there any way for me to get this report by company? Absolutely. Because so I know I've got my agent, and now I'm going to take it a step further and summarize that agent by company, so they can see who's coming from what carrier. So again, as you can see up here at the top, they're all holding. And when I'm done with that one, I can backtrack and the other reports still hold.
Absolutely. If you go back to that sales and retention tab though. Now in here, we're looking at our personal lines renewals. And again, just as agency intelligence, you can change that group by. So right now it's by application type. But we wanted to maybe see by company. Okay, now you can also change the date range. Right now it's defaulted to 60 days. You can look 90 days, you can look 120 days. And I know on commercial policies, that's typically, you're gonna be a lot further than on personal lines policies. So you can change that date range. You can then obviously change it even further and change it by week or by month. And then you can look at current policies, or if you want it by premium volume. So again, a lot of different features built into this report that you can drill things down. Now I know a lot of times, specifically for me, we look at our personal lines renewals in the next 60 days, and then we're looking at by week. And then so what I'm doing is I'm starting to send out emails or text messages asking clients, hey, do you want that annual review? Do you want it in person? Do you want it on the phone? Do you want to meet for coffee? How do you want that? Do you just want us to review the policy, see if we have any recommendations for changes, that sort of thing. And again, you can do all of that from right in here. So Kelly, if we actually go back, let's change the date range to 60 days. And let's, so we're on by week. Okay, so let's say that we're gonna go the week of that one right there, the 5/16, and we're gonna click on that premium. So we see that Susan and Michaela here, they have policies that are coming up for renewal. We can actually quickly from this screen, we can actually send out an email, or you can do a multitude of things. You can actually send this to the agent, you can send out an email, whatever the case may be. But if you have the permissions, you're able to go up to that file, just like Kelly did up there, that file, and then batch or send email. Yep. And then, of course, if you have form letters or form emails already spelled out and that sort of thing, you can actually put all of this in here and send out an email to these clients, create the log note that says, hey, you know, your policy's coming up for renewal here. Do you want to have that annual review? Are any changes? If you're mailing out a survey, emailing out a survey, that sort of thing, you're able to do that all from here in this specific report, and it's going to email all of that out to you. Questions on this before I go a step further, because I know a lot of times this creates a lot of questions.
I would say the biggest tip that I would give you guys, I know HawkSoft does a good job of, you know, set your email up batch emailing up according to spamming. You know, you want to make sure, work with your system administrator and make sure you get that fine-tuned before you try any of this. But like Michael's saying, you have a template. You don't have to type the same thing over and over again. You can create the log entry. You can suspend it to either the CSR or a specific person or the agent of record, all that within here, and give it a category. I mean, this is all, even if this report was 20 to 100 people deep, you could still do this all in one tidy process. The other thing that we wanted to show you guys is, you know, a lot of times we have these reports where, you know, you may want the agent to follow up, but you don't want to snip it, you don't want to send them the full report, but you want to get these onto his suspense or onto his radar, so to speak. Within here, if you guys saw this, you can also create a batch log. So everybody within this list would then create, you would create the same log note for, and then you could suspend it. So if you wanted to sort this list by agent, and then you could create the suspense item and tell them that you want to, you know, you want them to review the renewal, upcoming, give them some information here, suspend it, create it, then every single person that's on this list is going to follow the same, I'm just going to say okay, and all of those will then get a log note and a suspense assigned to whoever we chose to assign it to.
I should also add that when you use that batch log option, there is an item in there to make the log note on the policy level or the client level. So if the report you're pulling is a policy report for all the, for example, all the customers in the database that don't have homeowners insurance, you would want to make that note on the client level, not the policy level, if that makes sense.
Correct. Yep, and it's right here in the middle.
Now, a lot of times this is a good report. I know a lot of people wanted to, pre-conference survey, they wanted to know how to run that report to see what renewals are coming up. Well, this is how to do it. And of course, you can drill it down, as Kelly has said multiple times, run your reports big, drill it down, as we did. It started off by month. It started off in that data, that time frame, and then we drilled it down by week. So you don't have to feel overwhelmed. Maybe it's every Monday or every Friday you send out that email or something like that, and we're sending out weeks at a time and in small chunks. You don't have to feel overwhelmed by doing that. The other good thing about that report specifically is, I know in our download options, you have downloads that say, hey, this policy went up, you know, more than 10%. And of course, a lot of times we're getting that download just as the customer is getting their email or getting it out in the mail as well. And so if we're a step ahead and we're actually starting to reviewing those accounts prior to, we know that we can reach out to that customer and be proactive rather than reactive by doing so. The other really good thing that I like about this report specifically here underneath that personal lines is that it actually shows what's coming up in that next 60 days. Your home policies that don't have an auto, or the home policies that, or your auto policies that don't have a home. And you're able to see that. So it's a great opportunity to look at cross sells as policies are coming up for renewal, to make sure that you can add discounts on and that sort of thing as well. So it's a great reminder, a great tool to be able to do that and see those as well to help cross sell. Again, just like we did on the actual renewal reports, you can run that no active auto policy report here, and you can drill down that report as well to where maybe you're sending out an email or a batch log to your CSR saying, hey, give them a call, give them a text message, send out an email and say, you know, your renewal is coming up. We want to make sure we're maximizing out on discounts and that sort of thing as well, and bundling policies. You know, would you be interested in having us quote your auto and getting that done prior to that renewal being generated by the company? So again, great ways of being able to do those things. I like this report a little bit better than the agency intelligence one for the simple fact that it's kind of time framed here. It's what's coming up in that next 60 days.
Right. And we have some agents that when we initially started sending these out, so I want to show you guys, they liked what we sent, but there were some that they're like, well, I don't want to send an email to everybody. I don't, you know, there's a few on here that I just talked to yesterday, or, you know, so sometimes when you get to this landing point, you may only want, or let's say you only want to do 10 or 5 of these. Another way to kind of drill down is you can actually highlight, click one, go to the next thing that you want, just use your control button and click, and you can literally pick and choose the ones that you want. And then when you right click, you can create a new report from those selected entries. So just remember that no matter how broad you get, as you drill down, there's still an option to go a step further by literally, then that's one of my agents does, is I actually give him access to the report, and he'll just kind of pick and choose. He does his emails a little bit differently, you know, based on the clientele. So, you know, he has two or three different email templates that he uses. So he likes this hand-pick tool. Then he can take this batch of 6 and send an email. Again, the report is still there. He can go back and pick 2 or 3 others and create another report. All of these hold. So that's another good tip too, as you guys start working on these reports.
Now, we've talked about cross-selling. We've talked about marketing a little bit. It's also a good time to say that it was last year that Kenny Hendricks from Hawksoft and I did a webinar on actual marketing out of Hawksoft and utilizing specific Hawksoft for marketing. I know there are third-party vendors and that sort of thing out there that you can upload lists to and that sort of thing, but there are very easy ways to do that inside of Hawksoft. And so I know we'll post the link here for the webinar as well. And so you guys have a copy of that and you're able to go back and watch that. Because some of these are going to be helpful to do those renewal reviews, or I can tell you, I'll share that in a bit. So
Okay.
Any questions on sales? And I know you're going to show something here, weren't you, on printing?
Yeah, I'll just show that since you brought that up. On here, when you're in your report, you know, we showed you the batch log, we showed you the send email. If you go to this print feature, you can actually do envelopes, letters. Here's the form letter and you can then pick your template. And again, a really nice way you can print, you know, as many letters as you need to. They're formatted, they're pre-set up so you don't have to type. And then again, you can also create the log, create the suspense. So that's how you would accomplish, you know, if you're just going to cross-sale auto with home, you can, you know, do a pretty basic letter that just says, hey, we noticed we didn't have your auto insurance or we didn't have your homeowner's insurance. We'd love the opportunity to quote that and send that letter out to everyone in batch. We do this. We try not to do it, obviously, but yes, we still have people on our system that do not have emails. And this is, you know, if we don't have an email, we go emails first. And then if we don't have emails, we send letters.
Yep, absolutely. Kelly, if you'll go back to Agency Intelligence Report real quick. So a couple things that I wanted to mention here that I forgot to mention. One thing is a lot of times I run a report, and we were talking about marketing a little bit, so a little plug that I want to say here. I run my policies in force, policies in force, and then change the application type there to policy title, and then click on the home policies, so the 27 home policies there. One thing that I like to do, or that I do constantly, is I update my Google Maps listing. And I run this report, and I put all of my clients that are in home policies, and I take this report and I can drill it down to specifically only the information I want, which is going to be their name, their address, city, state, zip, and phone number. That's all I need on this report. But I take this report and I export it and I upload it to Google Maps. And I have a Google Map listing that I can zoom in. So if there is a natural disaster, a couple years ago we had a tornado go through one of our smaller rural communities a couple years ago, or I had a house fire last year that we drilled down and we looked at the neighborhood specifically. But I took this map and it pinpoints all of the homes that we insure inside the state of Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, because we're licensed in other states. But I can, again, drill down and look at, in a Google map, those specific policies in a neighborhood or in a geographic region that I can then, if there is that natural disaster or something that I want to pinpoint at a specific neighborhood, I'm able to do that in a Google Map setting. And then, of course, I can reach out to those customers and everything there. So another way of utilizing a report inside of Hawksoft that kind of sets you apart from the agency down the road and reaching out in times of need and that sort of thing as well. So that's a specific report that I've used out of Agency Intelligence there.
While you were talking about that, I just kind of walked through the steps there. I actually changed my layout to give you your address. And then I actually even took it a step further into the summary by zip. So if you have something that's happening in a certain location, this would be another good way to reach out to the people in those zip code.
This would be a great one, Michael, to click on File and Save as a memorized report and run as often as necessary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another way that Kelly and I have utilized this in the recent future, that's not actually what I want to, or recent past, I should say, is we both have a carrier that was purchased by another carrier. And so we had to start looking at ways to reach out to those people. And so again, we can drill down that policies in force in that agency's intelligence, and we can drill down by company and specifically run, once you're in that policies in force, you can group by company, specifically look at that company and reach out to all of those customers in a quick fashion and say, hey, yes, this has been in the news. Your agency or your company is now known as XYZ company. If you were still your same agent, where you could still call us for service and that sort of thing, we're not going anywhere. It's just a different company name that took over here. And so you're able to do that all within that report very quickly. Any questions on those two reports before we go into advanced reports?
Anything in your queue, Tiffany? Or are we caught up on questions in there?
We're caught up. We've got one question for advanced reports, so we'll wait there.
Perfect. Okay, so by advanced reports, you're again going back from your Hawksoft desktop there and click on reports and advanced reports. The real reason that I use these reports anymore, because again, I start with agency intelligence for most things, are going to be birthday reports, your cancel pending reports, and your claims reports. So again, those are the main reasons why I really come to agency intelligence, unless you're really trying to build a specific report and that sort of thing. And I do know Hawksoft also has in here, you can see actually once you open that report generator there, you're going to see that birthday report's the first one. You have your cancel pending report, and then a slew of other reports that Hawksoft has in there. Some of those even being data cleanup reports to kind of help you with data cleanup. So again, we showed you some of our quick ways of doing data cleanup earlier. Again, go watch the webinars that Stephen has out there and everything too. But Kelly clicked on the birthday report. I know that is something that one person asked on the pre-conference survey, or is birthday reports. And I think it's a great way to reach out to customers, again, on a birthday, as well as marketing specifically for Medicare clients and that sort of thing, if that's something that you offer. Quickly, a quick story on birthday reports here before I show you quick dive into this. Most of the time you only hear from clients when their policy goes up, the sale of a policy, or when they need you because of a claim. Birthday reports is a great way to, again, put your name out there to a customer, just to remind them that you're still here, that you're still active, and you're their agent. We uploaded a list of, at a former vendor that we used, we uploaded a list of individuals with their specific birth dates and that sort of thing into this list, and it would text them out in the mornings around 9:30, 9:45 in the morning and say, hey, this is Lee Insurance Agency, just wishing you a very happy birthday. You know, give us a call if you receive something of value, or give us a call if we can help make your day a little bit better. It was, you know, we had ran this all the time. We always get thank yous back. This is awesome. Thank you. That sort of thing. We did have one client though that was taking care of a family member in the hospital. And it was a pretty rough time for her. She actually stopped in, she got that message that morning. And of course it's all automated. So, you know, it's not like we're pressing that button every morning. But she stopped in a couple hours later and she said, you guys have been the only ones to wish me a happy birthday today. And I wanted to stop in and thank you. So again, you never know the power of what that can do. So again, this is a great tool to be able to do that. So when you're clicking on that birthday, you can actually, again, your filters is where you're going to start to build that base for you. So obviously it starts with the birthday, and then you can actually then select the begin date. So if you're looking at specifically May birthdays, and let's say we want to start, you know, May 5th and maybe the end of May, you know, May 30th, 31st there. And then you can run this report. And it's going to run anyone that has a birthday in the month of May. So you can go and change your report fields by adding and editing, dragging and dropping. You can change all of that reporting if you want.
I might also add that Hawksoft is going to report on any personal profile with the date of birth. So it could be your client's 14-year-old child that's listed on the policy as a personal profile. So here in reporting fields, it's going to be really important to include relationship so that you can drill down which ones are your customers versus your customers' roommates or children or partners.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great tidbit there. So this gives you your report once it populates here. And
Hey, Michael, I should also say one more thing. I'm sorry to interrupt.
no, you're fine.
I've made this mistake. I was an agent. I ran this report. I was going to send birthday cards to all these people, and I realized that I was wasting postage and envelope money on people that weren't even my customers anymore. So there's a field in here that shows number of active policies that I would include on this type of report too.
Yep. And this is also a good place to also state, you always want to be cautious and make sure, again, your data is only as good as what you put in it. Utilize the deceased field inside your customer profiles. Obviously, you don't want to send out that text message or make that phone call and that sort of thing, or send out that birthday card if the individual is deceased. I do not know that from experience. However, I do know of an agent that has had that happen in the past, and so we want to make sure that we update that. So it's just updating that customer profile. So you're clicking on that name, and then you're just check marking them as deceased inside Hawksoft. And then that way they would not be ran in this specific report.
Yeah, no worse PR than wishing someone happy birthday who's no longer with us. So definitely data cleanup on a continual basis. It's not something that you can do once and be done with. You really have to stay on it regularly.
Now, if we go back and exit out of this report, we're going to go back to advanced reports here and run that birthday report again. And you can also change it from birth date to actual current age. So for those of you that are marketing to Medicare clients and that sort of thing, you can put in age 63, age 64, whatever, up to age 65, or whatever top age that you want to put in. And of course, this is a demo database, so we may or may not have some clients in here, so we'll see. But so you're able to, so this did not actually pull up any of the search priority. But again, you're able to do that. So if you're marketing to a specific age group, again, like Tiffany pointed out here in the chat, as well as then, you know, as she was speaking as well, you can do clients that are having kids turn 16 years old. We know a lot of the companies are starting to get nitpicky about listing who's all in the household. I know it's a common question we ask. Do you have anyone in the household at a specific age that's older or that's going to be of driving age in the near future? We want to know that, so that way we can at least put them in here. That way that's helping us with marketing and that sort of thing as well. The next report there is your cancel pending report. So if you click on that, it's actually going to pull up anything that is of download from Ivans or Progressive or the downloaders out there. It's going to pull anything that's cancel pending right now. So for those of you looking for a specific cancel pending report, that's the easiest way to get to a cancel pending report there. And again, just as always, you can always change the fields, add things, summarize things, and things like that as well.
Yeah, all the functionality that we showed you within agency intelligence, it remains the same throughout all of these reports.
You also then have your canceled policies and then your claims report down there as well. We use claims reports a lot. Some agents don't like to deal with claims at all. They don't put any information about claims inside of Hawksoft. We are a firm believer that if it is not in Hawksoft, it never happened. That's the way that I operate inside our agency. So we always look at claims and that sort of thing as well, just to see how long claims are out there aging, to make sure things are being updated as well. Some of your companies obviously are doing claims downloads now if you want to do those, and then some still do not, and some it's very limited information. So again, your data is only as good as what you put in it, but you're able to run all of those claims reports out of here to see any of the claim statuses. So if you go ahead and click next.
Now, you'll notice too, as I'm running these, and when I click next, you see all of these filter options. You're going to be you want to go in there. Your instinct is going to be, let me go in here and get really specific and let me tweak this and really narrow this down. The biggest piece of advice that you take away from this is just leave the filters alone. Just get the report that you want, let it run wide open, and then you can utilize all of your summaries and your layout buttons to get what you want. So if you want to look at all your, your claims here and you want to summarize those by company, by agent, you can do all that after the fact. You'd be surprised how many times I talk to somebody, a friend, an agent that's using Hawksoft, and they're like, I tried to run this report and I put in all of these filters and I got nothing. It's like I have no policies. And the first thing I tell them is back out all of your filters, let it run wide open, and then utilize your summary and your layout button.
Absolutely. So again, you can easily update statuses or go in and see, you know, hey, these are the these are claims that are still out here. We want to make sure that we're getting updated information in here. So going to the claims profile, you can update information, that sort of thing. You know, or again, see why it's still pending out there. So you can make notes and documents, so that way the next time that you run the report, you're like, hey, this is why it's still open. Maybe it's a bodily injury claim, that sort of thing. It's going to be out there for a couple years. But again, data is only as good as information that you put in. So those are the quick reports that you can run out of the advanced reports, and that's generally what I use them for now. Again, you can build reports in there and do a lot of those things. Any of the saved reports that you build, whether that's an AI, agency intelligence, sales and retention, or advanced reports, are all going to be here in that advanced report area. So if you click on advanced reports, they're all in that bottom box there. All of the saved reports that you put in there. Generally, any reports that I have in there are maybe it's a CSR agent who's no longer with us, and it was their list of clients prior to me merging them with another agent or producer. It could be a slew of information that I have in there as to reports, but that is where all of your saved reports are going to be there.
Michael, this might be a good chance to teach them how to, we had a question on how to delete these. So Kelly, click that browse button to browse to the folder where Hawksoft has those reports saved in the background, and they can be deleted from here. It's not very intuitive. So on that previous screen, you can't right click and delete. There's no delete button. So you have to browse into the folder where it's stored in order to delete. And be careful with that, because there's stuff in there that you don't want to accidentally rename or delete or move, because it'll don't go behind the scenes unless you really, really need to.
Right. You never know what somebody else saved it for. So.
And you also want to be careful deleting a lot of stuff out of there and clicking on what folders. I think it was 2 years ago, was it, that my entire client database went missing in the middle of the day. So unless the actual client was opened on a specific PC, every client that we ever had was deleted out of there. Now, Hawksoft did help us out. It is also intuitive to make sure that you have backups and that sort of thing as well. But at the end of the day, if you're not comfortable with going through and deleting things out of folders in the back end of Hawksoft on the drives, definitely give Hawksoft service a call. They will be glad to help you through that as well.
We had a question pop up. Are you tracking new business via the production report here or in an agency intelligence? And I think the consensus would be nowadays in agency intelligence. It's the quickest, easiest snapshot to view it from.
Yeah, and just for us, when we look at, before I send out month-end stats, I do go into this policy added, and I go by none, and then I just kind of work through, I'm looking at the prior month, I kind of leave it pretty basic. The one thing that I do is I go through and I check these just to make sure that they are true new business and not a rewrite or anything that shouldn't be coded as new. I fix those first. But yeah, everything that we track as far as new business is tracked here, and I believe Michael does it the same way.
That's correct.
We had one more question. It says, oh, sorry, Michael.
Nope, go right ahead.
Is it possible on the birthday list to put the birth dates in date order so that I can see the most current birthdays? So I want to see May 1st, then May 2nd, then May 3rd, then May 4th. I need to see it to answer that one.
Well, you could probably go this way.
Yeah, see how it's going to put it in year order, guys, not in month or day order.
No, so I mean, you could summarize and base it off of an actual birth date or month. Wait, I don't think you can do that.
You can't. What you can do, and this isn't the Hawksoft solution, but what, you know, you could double click there on the two that are in May 1977 and then view it that way. What I would likely do if I really had a huge report and I wanted to see it by, first of all, I guess I would have run the report for just May birthdays.
Right.
Second of all, if I really need to manipulate it more, I probably would Control All and highlight the whole thing.
Ooh.
And then, or excuse me, not Control All, Control A, and then copy to my mouse and include the header row because I want the report layout fields at the top. And then I would just open Excel and paste in Excel and then manipulate it there.
Yep, exactly. Because the only other way, like you said, you could click on that date of birth, but that's about the best you could do. Any other questions in this category in the advanced reports? There's two other reports that we wanted to show you guys that we got a few questions about in the survey. Michael, do you want to hit the suspense and the activity report?
Oh, absolutely. So in Hawksoft, there are a couple other reports that aren't in agency intelligence, sales and retention, or advanced reports. But in some cases, a lot of times people like to see what's going on inside the agency. So there's underneath the reports, there's the suspense report and activity report. Now, suspenses are going to give you the suspenses that are currently out there. Now, a lot of times we like to see specific agents, and sometimes you want to see it as a whole. However, right now you cannot see as a whole inside the agency. You're only going to be able to see a specific agent when you run this report. Now, again, the fewer the details you put in at this point, the better, depending upon what you're trying to accomplish here. However, I will say at the very bottom, if you're looking to say, hey, and I'm going to pick on my producer, Ben, inside my agency because his office is right outside of mine and he may or may not be able to hear me right now. So I'm okay with that. But I could look at suspenses at the very bottom. It says suspense overview report and that are past due. So I can sit here and say, hey, what is going on? Why is this aging out here? You know, are we behind on things? What are we waiting on? So you can actually kind of help and coach things through and that sort of thing. The other thing that we use suspense reports for a lot is by looking at, if I was reminded quickly last week that I was going to be out of the office this next coming week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, specifically for Hawksoft. And so, I can in turn look at what suspenses are going to be due for me early into next week and while I'm gone, and I can get those done now, or I can resuspend them so I don't have a lot of stuff waiting on me when I get back too. So there's a lot of things that you can actually do with this, but you can actually run the report by a specific producer, agent, but really any user inside the agency and look at what's going on inside their suspenses as well.
Yeah, and Tiffany put some notes out there in the chat for you guys. This is a great, like we have an employee who's out this week due to a family emergency, and when you don't plan to be out, of course, there's 1,000 things that you didn't get to wrap up. So I've been using this a lot this week to just help her while she's out, plan vacations if somebody's sick. If you lose an employee, this is a great place to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks.
So that suspense report, it's pretty self-explanatory once you get in there and kind of play with it a little bit. Your activity report is going to show you anything that's happened inside the agency on a specific date that has been logged inside of Hawksoft. So it's not going to show you if somebody just looked at an account, but a specific log inside of Hawksoft or an action is going to show you what's happening or what happened here. So you can summarize that by a specific date and by specific user and that sort of thing as well. We use this a lot of times if we're looking for a specific payment that happened. I did have to go back and figure out something that happened on a specific date because the wrong VIN number was put on the wrong policy for the wrong client. So I had to actually go back in and find, okay, what all interactions do we have on a specific date that transaction took place, so I could see, okay, whose account is it supposed to be on and that sort of thing. And so you're able to do that. And again, just activity report, it's going to pull it up. And then, of course, you can actually summarize and change your fields and everything as well.
So it says, what does the time mean in the activity report? The time is the date that the user made the log note in the client policy. So this activity report is based upon any time basically the action menu has been utilized, and it date stamps and times the work done.
For the managers and some of the leads out there, if you're kind of on the fence about maybe is it time to hire, is it time, this is a great idea to make sure your work distribution's even. I know we've got like 4 personal line CSRs, and if I notice that one of them is really struggling to stay, ahead of things, I kind of just run these and then I summarize it by user and just kind of see if the distribution of work is working out evenly. And maybe there's a phone issue or a rotation issue or something that's happening that's causing her to take on a little bit more of the load. This is a great way to look at those. look at those activities and give you an idea of who's handling what, how much of what, who's not handling much of anything. It's a really good insight to that.
Okay, so we're running up on 2:15 here, and
Right.
I want to quickly wrap up here so we have some time for questions and everything too. But I really want to talk about historical reports real quick. I know we've kind of alluded to it a couple times. There are multiple ways to get your information outside of Hawksoft. The best way to create a historical report is for you to export that and save it onto your own PC, your Mac, and that way you can start building your historical report. The reason being, once Hawksoft does launch historical reports, it's going to take about 12 months for that data to actually build and get in there and everything as well. They have the data there. Agency intelligence is already here for you. But again, it's that rolling 12 months. So at the end of the year, December 31st, you want to make sure that you save a report out of here that of all your policies added, or maybe it's a specific company, whatever the case may be. You want to make sure that you're saving that report out of here. So that way you can look back at the following year and compare. Same thing if you're running month to month. That way you can compare May of 2020 to May 2021. Because as of right now, you're now comparing May 5th to May 5th of last year. So it's, again, a rolling 12 months and everything there. So you want to make sure that you're saving these reports if you want that true historical report at this point. Otherwise, you can wait. And it's great to clean up data in the meantime so that once historical reports are there, your data is clean and up to date and you're familiar with it and everything there. So that's on historical reports. I do know there was another question out there on the surveys. How do you rank companies and our clients? And again, I'm looking at that policies in force field. And we can, again, group by company. And you can summarize it based on the annual premium there. Yep. If we actually, let's just do it by company like you have it there. And then click on that annual premium field there at the top. But again, you're looking at that specific company, and then you can drill down that, the top clients in that company, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of things, again, you can do with this. And at the end of the day, it's what data points you're looking for. If I'm looking for a specific company and how they rank, it may be just my packaged companies, so my bundles where I can do auto and home. I may not want to include my home companies that I can't put autos in, that sort of thing. If I'm looking at clients, what is it that I'm looking for that's going to be my data points that I want, my top clients? And again, this, I know in the past, many webinars have talked about tags and that sort of thing. You can create a VIP tag, and of course, then that's now a reported field that you can actually build into this layout and that sort of thing. So if you have specific companies that have, or clients that have, so many policies, or they're a VIP client because they've been with you 23 years, or whatever the case may be, you're able to put that information in and run it that way. So there's a lot of things that can be done with that. So with that, I want to turn it over to questions. If you guys have any.
If you guys want, if you're going to put something in the chat, or just raise your hand and we'll call on you and you can talk it out. If there's a report that we haven't covered for you that you want to challenge us to show you how to build, well, let us know. Are we that good, Michael, that we don't have any questions?
It must be.
Tiffany's done such a good job staying on top of them all over there.
Okay. Yeah, Tiffany's really been.
Michelle has had a really great tip. She just shared that she has somebody at her agency that runs sort of the health score of her agency report, agency intelligence reports every single day, and then they record that data and metrics on an Excel spreadsheet or somewhere on a shared drive. And even if she's not taking pictures of that actual report and saving the report to Excel, she's recording the data somewhere for reference. I thought that was a great tip.
Yeah, we've seen it done a lot of ways. That's definitely a good one, because you can, set up your Excel sheet. You can name it by company, by month, and you can easily then, pull your information and look at what you did this time last year in the same month, share that with company reps, with agents. A lot of viable options there to kind of build your own historical reports.
It says, can you show the report again on activity report where it breaks it down?
Okay.
Let's go into your activity report there, and she's obviously on multiple screens there. So you're looking at a specific date or a time frame. So you're going to just select that there.
Let's go yesterday, because I know I did some stuff on there yesterday. And then you
And
have
then-
an option
Yep.
by user. So if you're looking for one specific, or you can just run it wide open and then summarize. Again, your layout field, add, edit, move them around if you want to, and then finish. And it keeps popping on the other screen, of course. And there you go. Is
So
there
you can
something-
actually see specifically when you're looking at this report, and I didn't explain it, but you can see the title to one of the columns there is log. And so you can actually click on that, so it's going to separate exactly how, you know, what happened. We did a data replace yesterday. We did some batch log stuff yesterday when we were playing around with this. Or you can obviously go into summary. And it's going to, you can do by log there, and it's going to say, hey, these were all the active payments. These were all the phone calls. These were, you know, whatever the case may be, to, you know, summarize exactly what it is. Then you can obviously drill that down. So if we're looking at claims, so we change claims there, you can drill it down by double clicking, and it's now going to open up that specific report on what we did with them.
You know what I see a lot are time drivers. When is my agency the most busy? Like, when are all those phone calls coming in? Should I staff up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon? Because that's when all the phone starts ringing off the hook, or we get emails. So you can drill it down by time too, kind of get a feel for when to send people to lunch.
Yeah. And the other thing that we used it for is we purchased an agency, and you know, when you purchase an agency, you're looking at staffing, and you want to know kind of, if you want to look back and see like how busy is this agency and who's handling the lion's share of the work, and maybe consider who you want to bring over with you. You know, this is a great way. You can do this, and then you can, like I said, you can summarize it by log, you can summarize it by user to see who's handling, you know, how many of the items. You can sort these fields, highest to lowest, lowest to highest, and then it breaks it down by log for you. Does that answer your question? I just want to make sure we covered it.
I think that question was answered. The next one we have, it says in agency intelligence, policies sold excludes the rewrites. How do I see the ones that have been rewritten?
So that is correct. It does, and that's a feature. I mean, I personally like because I want to see what's actually new inside the agency to make sure the agency is growing. But obviously, you do want to see those rewrites. So there's a couple different ways that you can do that. And Kelly, if you're going to go into policies in force, one way is obviously through advanced reports. You can actually go into advanced reports and do it that way, and see your production report, because that's going to show your rewrites. That's the old way of going back through that. And yep, you have it there. So yep, there is a production report that you can run that way. The other way is in your agency intelligence. Once you get to that report of the ones that we've added, you can go in and change and add the status specifically in there, so that way it's showing the status rather, you know, in that report.
I think I've got so many reports open
You
now
do.
that demo data is like, whoa.
But I would actually probably tell you the majority of the time that I want to look at the rewrites and what we're doing, I end up actually in advanced reports and just looking at the production, because for me it's faster to get to that than to go through agency intelligence for that.
That goes back to a question we saw in the chat. Is it preferential for you to run these production reports in agency intelligence or through advanced reports? And I think it's going to come down to what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I would probably say 95% of the time it's through agency intelligence. But you know, there's the time that I look for the actual production.
I don't have any more questions in the chat. Do we want to touch on the ability to run reports based on a client tag in advanced reports? Or is that opening up another topic we may not have time for?
Nope, absolutely. We can, yeah, if you just want to run your current active.
Or click on new reports.
Oh, yep, perfect.
And then right down at the very bottom, instead of this screen here, I always preface this by policies, one at the top, and a list of every single policy in the agency. And then you've got your client level, and your client level If you run a report on a client level, your customer's name is going to show up on that report one time because they're just one client to your agency versus 5 times because they have 5 policies with your agency. So client and policy, knowing the difference between those is instrumental. Running a report based on personal profiles, dates of birth, occupation, age. Running a report on cross-sell items or claims items, which Michael mentioned. But then this one here called client tags. Do we want to show a client tag? Does everybody know what a client tag is?
I'm not sure if we have any actually built into the system.
Let's take a gander. I'm sure we do. I think we had a few that, well, let's just run the report. That'll tell us.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. It will tell us.
True story. We have 2. We have 6. Look at us. Oh.
Pitbull.
We have pit bulls. Cool. Now we know why they're tagged.
So that client tag, and let's actually go back just so people know where to actually find that in the actual client profile itself.
Okay.
So let's go back to your desktop on there. So again, we see that client tag, it'll pop open if you have it set to do that, pop open. But then it's that teal color right there underneath client tags that say, hey, there's an issue. And it's we utilize that for a lot of different things, whether it's missing info and we need something, or documents are here to sign, SR22 clients, for different reasons and that sort of thing. There's a lot of things that you can use client tags for, VIP clients, that sort of thing. And then of course you can run that report to see what it is. I like the ones here that say, pit bull. It's a reminder of that dog or that sort of thing. We've also said, we instituted a rule in our agency a number of years ago, kind of a 3 strikes rule. So if you cancel three times for non-payment, that next time you actually have to pay in full for 6 months before we'll actually put you on a payment plan. So we actually have a client tag that is a strikes rule and a number, how many times that they've done that. So it just kind of keeps us all on the same playing field and that sort of thing. But there is a report that you're able to run tag-wise too, which is kind of unique and awesome in that regards.
Yeah, it looks like we have one on there that was showing that somebody else has the ability to call in and talk, they've given permission for somebody else to call in and get access to their information. We had a tag out there that said that client spoke Spanish. So, you can utilize tags for a lot of variations.
Yeah, Michelle uses client tags to track details on who sends her the lead.
Good idea.
Awesome. Well, any other questions? I know we're closing in on time here at 2:29. I want to thank you guys for actually listening to Kelly and I and Tiffany. It's been a great kind of digging back into reports and stuff like that. I know it's a lot of times that I utilize things so frequently that I forget to do or some of the nuances and that sort of thing. So it's kind of unique to see how other agencies utilize things as well. So thank you guys for taking the time to be with us today.
Thanks, you guys. That was awesome. You did so great. Thank you, Kelly and Michael, for your time, and Tiffany for answering so many questions in the chat.
Thanks for including me. I want to do this with you every day, guys. This is fun.
Tiffany, there was a question I think out there. Is there a way to combine policies lost and policies added?
Not into one report that I can think of.
So no, not into one report. They would be separate. Now, if you wanted to export them, you could export them into Excel or Google Sheets, and you could merge them that way as well if you wanted to do that. But those would be 2 separate reports.
I would agree with Michael's statement.
All right, well, thanks everyone. If you think of anything else, or feel free to reach out or contact TalkSoft support. Be happy to help you guys.
And we will be sending out an email within 24 hours with the recorded webinar if anybody's looking to review anything. And we are sending an email with the survey as well, so please complete that. And thank you so much, Kelly and Michael, for your presentation today.
Thank you guys for including me.
Thanks for your help, Tiffany.
Yeah, thank you,
Bye-bye.
Tiffany.
You're welcome.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.